Welcome back everyone to the Hello World Guy, and let's get started with today's tutorial. Alright guys, so this is my Unity project opened up, and the first thing you notice is that I have changed the background and walls to be a different material, and hopefully you know how to do that. So just select whatever color you would like for this. I have made the staircase a bit darker and then the rest of it. So the rest of the room is kind of a lightish gray and the staircase is almost black. So I just made a couple of changes here and there, and that looks pretty good. And you can just select whatever colors you want. Also, I made the enemies red because they were a bit hard to spot in if this really wasn't a grayish color, it wouldn't be like that, but this is a very grayish color, so the enemies are kind of hard to see in here. So I have made them red so that you can see them a little bit easily. And yeah, that's pretty good. Now today we are actually going to do a couple of final touches and make our game look a lot better. But before we actually get to doing that, there are a couple of things I would like to address. So the first one is that if I keep playing the game and I manage not to get killed, then eventually the enemies would get they would become they would become so much, that delay between the enemies would get too low, and we will really never be able to escape the enemies, and our game would kind of crash due to the huge number of enemies. Even though the player probably will die before that happens, but if there's still a possibility, and of course that doesn't look too good if there are just infinitely spawning enemies. So we need to cap that at some value. So in order to do that, it's really simple. Just open up the enemy spawner script and add these two lines of code, which basically checks if the spawn delay is less than a particular value, and then set it to that to prevent it from going too low. Alright, with that done, we can actually focus on the graphical stuff now. Now, the first thing you probably noticed is that I have deleted the directional light from my scene, because that's kind of like sunlight, and we really don't need or want sunlight, because come on, this is not like an outdoor scene, this is an indoor scene, and there's really not supposed to be any sunlight coming from anywhere, and even if you move the directional light out, it will still affect the inside, so we need to delete it. And currently our scene is only lit by global illumination. So now what I'm going to do is, actually the reason our scene doesn't look good is that the Unity's default render pipeline is actually not that good. Unless you try to really make it look good, it won't really look good that much. So what we are going to use is essentially a custom render pipeline called the high definition render pipeline. Now it is a great thing to actually use that, because it makes your game look a lot better, and especially if you know how to actually make something look good, then it will make it look absolutely awesome. And if you are developing for low-end PCs or mobile, you should use like in the universal render pipeline, but we are going to use the high definition render pipeline for now. So in order to switch to the high definition render pipeline, what you need to do is go under window and package manager, and in here just wait for it to refresh. Alright, so after it has refreshed, just go down here and try to find the high definition render pipeline. Here is it, high definition RP, and just install that. Just click on this install button. Alright, so as soon as the package finishes installing, you should see this screen here, this window, and here you can see there it's giving a lot of errors, and you can just hit fix all here, and that should pretty much do everything for you, and hit create one here. There are a lot of things you need to set up with HDRP, but it does most of that automatically. Alright, so after it has done fixing everything, just click on this convert out built-in materials to HDRP button, or else your whole project will be pink. Really. So if you close this window now, you should see that we have got a pretty much working thing, and I don't know if you can feel it, but this already looks out bit spicier, I guess. I mean, it looks a lot more realistic, and as you can see, it's a bit darker, and yeah, the environment is not that light as it was before, but the materials are now a lot more realistic. Yeah, that's pretty good. So now we are going to get started with the actual lighting settings. Now in here there are a bunch of settings that you could play around with and stuff, to be honest, a lot of them, I mean. But if you actually, just to show you, if you actually go here and select this, go under this HDRP default setting resources folder and open up the default settings asset, you should see something here called bloom. Now just you can change the quality to high if you want, but I'm going to leave it at okay, I'll change to high, and then set the threshold to something like 0.9. Then you can actually increase the intensity quite a lot. If I go under here in the HDRI sky and I turn it off, then you can kind of see that this is glowing, which is pretty good, I guess. But when I turn it on, it kind of also turns green. But yeah, that's a slight problem. But we'll fix that. If I just turn off the sky, then if I'm what I'm going to actually do is go under my hierarchy, right click here, and go under volume and add in a sky and fog global volume. As soon as I do that, the scene completely turns black. And what I'm going to do here is change the go under the visual environment here and change physically based sky to HDRI sky. As soon as I do that, things should look a lot better. If you want, I actually encourage you to turn that back on if you want to actually see stuff. And what you can do now is go under this fog section and go under this fog distance and then change it to something much lower. This is basically a distance from which fog will start appearing. So if I change it to 15, you can kind of see the effect that this is having. You can turn it down to something really low like 5 to make it look extremely creepy, but 10 is pretty good, or maybe 8. And as you can see, it looks a lot scary. Like 6. All right, I'll leave it at 6, and as you can see, that looks pretty awesome. You might prefer to turn off this HDRI sky completely in the settings, but that really doesn't look that good in my opinion, so I'm going to turn it on. And this is pretty nice, to be honest. You can change these settings if you want. You can change the color and then tint, and then go here and then change it to something like red. You can change the color mode to constant color, and then you can actually change the color of the fog to whatever you like. For example, you can choose a reddish color. That actually doesn't change the fog's color, seems like. You can all right, you can do a bunch of stuff here. So if you, oh sorry, this is not the fog color, I forgot. If you actually go in the here and turn on the albedo, you can change that to actually change the fog's color. You can make it slightly bluish if you like that, maybe. Yeah, that looks pretty awesome. And with that, if you play the game, then there is a slight problem. I'll just show you, and that is that when the game starts, you can see I can move around, and that's pretty awesome. But as soon as the first enemy appears, you can see that his eyes are pink. That's because the default material doesn't get automatically changed, so we need to do it manually. But I actually do want the eyes to have an emissive color, so for that I'm going to go under assets and then materials. I'm going to right click here and just ignore these errors for now. Right click here and create a oh, by the way, do if you notice this new textures here, just ignore them. They are because HDRP uses a different mode of applying normal maps and non-normal maps, roughness maps, metallic maps, etc, etc. So just ignore this texture here. I'm going to right click here and create a new material called enemy eyes, and in here I'm going to just leave it like that for now. Just remove this error for now. And what I'm going to do is go under my prefab, open up my enemy prefab, then go under go here in the scene view, go to the here and select this cube object, and you can see it's currently using a default material. Don't worry, this blue will go away in a second, hopefully. Okay, you can see here it's compiling the shaders. So now if I go under my material, I'm going to just select the enemy eyes material, and what I'm going to do is go under the base color. I'm going to change that to red. Now, as soon as I do that, you don't need to concern yourself with the metallic and smoothness stuff. But what I'm going to do is go under. I'm going to turn both of these down to 0, and then I'm going to try to find the emissive option here. So if you go under here emission inputs, then you can turn on emission intensity if you want, or you can just use a singular color. So if I change that to red, and you can actually change the intensity here, so I'm going to set the intensity something like 4, and if I do that, and I'm going to select my cube, this cube thing now, and I'm going to drag this onto this, and that should cause it to appear. And now if I play the game, then well, it's taking a bit of a time. Okay, and now you can see that our game looks absolutely amazing, really scary, and as soon as the enemy appears, we can, oh, we cannot actually see his eyes that clearly. I actually want his eyes to be seen really clearly, and that's the reason I wanted to make them emissive in the first place. But as you can see, they are not really that emissive. So if I just select the enemy eyes, and I try to change, go under here and turn on use emission intensity to have it as a separate variable, and you can increase it a lot. And oh, well, that's a bug. All right, so if I hit play now, hopefully it will be a lot better. I'm actually just going to change this to 150, the intensity, and if I wait for that to happen, then you can see that the enemy should appear in a few seconds, and it does, but it doesn't really look that amazing. But I think it pretty much works for now. You can change it if you want. You can tweak these settings here if you want to change this, but I think that this looks pretty good for now, and our game looks pretty nice. So this is pretty much it for this video, and I'm going to actually see you in the next video now, in which we will focus on finishing the game, and adding a main menu and stuff. But for now, this game looks pretty awesome. It's really good. You can see that this is an amazing environment, and we have got quite a nice game. So anyways, like and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next video. So bye.